It's a funny ride, this spirituality, truth realization, enlightenment thing. Instead of gaining anything, there's just a progression of seeing through partial views, seeing through layers of illusion. Walking through stages that feel complete but in hindsight are not. Starting as identification with this body-mind, walking in the world as though I'm separate from the world. Completely being influenced by impulses, internally, externally, and realizing, oh no wait, there's also awareness here, and kind of shooting out of the body-mind and taking on the position of pure awareness, witness consciousness. That felt amazing for a while. But also incomplete to then go, oh no wait, I'm not just awareness. There's no difference between awareness and what I'm aware of, you know. It's one thing. There's only oneness. And I am everything. You know, it's the heart opening. Also beautiful. Beautiful for a while. But also a limited view, a partial view, an incorrect view. I mean, every view is incorrect. But then from unity, consciousness is seeing, oh, no. There's actually nothing here, it's all empty. It's all empty. It's all emptiness. Everything is emptiness. I'm emptiness. Your emptiness, world is emptiness. There's nothing but emptiness expressing itself. But then that becomes a new view. So even in emptiness, there's a solidification, a reification. It's subtle, but it's there. Seeing through the lens of emptiness, it's still a lens. From there, I guess, naturally, you just relax. It seems that there's no acquisition of a new view, but rather a dissolving of the mechanism that wants to have a view. Feels like the ground disappearing, being pulled from underneath my feet. That there's nowhere to stand. There's no one to stand on anything. And as such, there is no point of view, at least none that is added to what is. My system is adjusting itself to letting go of the need for views, which is also a subtle form of control. Where does that where does that leave you? I don't know. Some parts are scared, especially in the lower area of the body, in the root chakra. Sometimes there's this contraction happening. It feels like this circle almost that just goes, no, I am here, I have to be here, I can't let go, because that means death. But yeah, also that is then seen that this contraction happens inside nothing. What's a contraction inside nothing? It's nothing. And it's just silence. There's just silence. Silence says it all. Silence is indeed the true teacher, the true guru. And then there is this movement that's actually, funny enough, more of an embodied movement of coming home in the body. Because when the views start collapsing further and further, the layers of perception start shedding further and further. There's the recognition that, oh my God, this body's point of view and the way it relates with the world, that's actually more true than all of these points of view that I just talked about. It's more true than, obviously, being identified with ego. It's more true than being the witness. It's more true than unity. It's more true than emptiness. What a fucking joke, Because this was present all along, right? This was here all along, from the beginning. While there was identification with the body-mind, this no view was there, behind and in, through, whatever, underneath, above, the view of being identified with ego. And the same goes for the other views. This no view was there. Not that there is a dare, but yeah. Whatever. Words. What was that? Wow. 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 I wish you could see that. That's an amazing bird. Wow. And still, there's parts of me that kind of don't want to let go completely. I mean, I think it's like habits and tendencies of the body-mind, of the energetic and mental conditioning that are releasing, really. They're self-releasing, self-liberating. because that also coincides with this no view. So that everything seems to be self-liberating. When there's tension in the body-mind or emotional twists or conflicts, when it's seen from non-view, they just open up and self-liberate, self-release effortlessly. Because the view of no view is one of non-involvement, right? Non-engagement. It's not one that comes from an emotional charge. And all of the past views, they still had some emotional charge. Because there was still some bypassing going on, you know. The unity consciousness is very easy, tempting to cling on to because it feels so good, and it feels as though we're on the right side of things, you know. It feels holy in a way, sacred. But there's a bypass there of the fact that you can't really say that things exist. And so what is there to be in union with itself, you know? I realize I'm using these words very hard. It's very hard to talk about it, but the unity consciousness view clings on to itself and bypasses the fact that things are and aren't at the same time. And so there is a slight emotional charge there as well, it seems. And the same goes for the emptiness view. There's a subtle clinging, subtle tendency to walk around and be like, it's all, you know, it's all nothing, it's all an illusion. And it feels very true, but it's still a position, right? It's still a position. And there was still an agenda behind wanting to sit in that position, wanting to nestle into it, you know. There was still some sense of security gained from even the emptiness view. Which, I know, it's ironic, it's funny. And, you know, from the no view point of view, it's seen that the need for security and position is based on nothing. Of course, the body needs security, and I would defend it with everything I have. But that's not really a psychological mechanism, it's more a biological mechanism. As in, it's not something that comes from the virtual world of mind, but is rooted more in nature, in the regularities of nature. Yeah. What a joke, you know, when I mean, I didn't really choose to step on this spiritual path. I think none of us really did. I don't think you can really choose for that. But you know, stuff happened, and the ego fabricated a story that I am on the spiritual path and going towards enlightenment. And there was no shortage of teachers and books that would confirm, you know, yes, indeed, you are going there, you're special, you're a chosen one. Starting with like Eckhart Tolle, you know. I remember his metaphor of a million years ago, there were only plants on earth, and then out of nowhere flowers appeared, and that these flowers, metaphorically speaking, are consciousness on planet earth that awaken compared to the people that are asleep. I remember reading that and going, oh my god, I'm a flower and everybody's a plant. Of course, I was prone to make a conclusion like that given from my own narcissism back then. But yeah, this whole project did definitely start with the idea that I'm going to arrive at something, at somewhere special, you know. And and also in these progressive, you know, stages, it felt more and more like, indeed, you know, I'm one with everything. Wow. Oh, there's only emptiness. Wow, you know. It really felt like I'm going there. I'm going somewhere. I'm going to enlightenment. And then the ground just disappears. And there's this free fall. And parts want to hang on, you know, for dear life, but there was a lot of emptying out already in my system, so the existential fear, dread hasn't been so strong. Who knows what may come, you know. There's no conclusions anymore in that regard. But the funny thing, that thinking you go from person to some holy enlightened being and then walk around all blissful and all, you know. To arrive there at a point where you realize you don't arrive. There's no end station. You know, and going beyond emptiness and like stepping through the groundlessness of this, there's actually the recognition that, oh my god, no pun intended, this is it. This has always been it. You know, this body, this experience, this individuality. This physical, quote-unquote, point of view, this unexplainable mystery, magic, it's magic, to see that this is it, you know, this is it. Exactly this point of view is it. It's God viewing, it's life viewing itself. And this was never missing. But of course the view is, you know, you start here as a separate self, identified with your stories, and the path does this, right? Like you go witness, consciousness, unity, emptiness, and then boom, you're back here, but you're not really back here, right? You're not really back here because the distorted ways of seeing, the partial views, they are not present anymore, or at least not rooted enough to distort perception to the degree that there is a forgetting of what is seeing, what's being seen. so funny, right? So you start like this, and you end up here. But this and this is not the same, right? It is and it isn't. But yeah, like I said, there's an adjusting process still going on for sure. What helps is to just breathe through it, you know. Just breathe through it. Let go also into the fear that arises. The fear of annihilation. So let go into that, you know.